Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and it's time for our little Monday art lesson. Um, we're gonna gotta like go through like these little mini classes of anatomy. So we're gonna start with like different sections again. I know I'd done this before, but it was very vague and simplistic. But we're gonna kind of really like delve into it. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use this anatomy chart here. Um, but we're going to learn like how these muscles are connected, intertwined, and are woven and stuff like that. So this week we're going to start with the torso. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is the male torso. Right now, do we have to come in here and draw every single muscle? No. What you want to do is learn how these muscles connect to the body's various parts, right? So we're not going to work past the shoulders or the pelvic region. But what you want to do is start thinking. So we're going to do like a front view, right? So you want to start thinking about how these muscles connect, right? So if we look at the image, we can see that the chest muscle actually goes into the upper shoulder right here, right? So if we think about it, tucks away into the corner, right, before it comes out and comes across. So this is for our male, right? So we can think of this shape right here, almost like a teardrop that's arching out. Okay, so if we wanted to, we could come in and we could draw the various muscle fibers that connect, if that's what you wanted to do. But your main focus could honestly just be on the chest shape itself and the way it tucks in to that shoulder or the high shoulder. Basically, where the armpit meets is where that's tucking away. Okay. Then we have like this little gap, right? This is where your sternum is and where a lot of the cartilage connects. And then we're just doing the same thing, right? We're reaching out and we're tucking in to that shoulder. Okay? It tucks right in there. It comes over and tucks back across. Okay? So we have that little gap here for our muscles. And we have our other chest muscle that comes across. And now we have the actual abdomen muscles. Now, before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to show the muscles for the shoulder, right? So as those things tuck in right here, we come down and build up our shoulders. They kind of run right into the top of the chest, right here, right? So we kind of have this like overlap right here of the upper chest or the pectorals right here into the shoulder, right? And then that thing's it's gonna work the same way on the other side of the body, right? That's gonna come out, and we also have, if you see here, we still came out from that tucked area, creating this upper chest right here, and that down into the shoulder. Okay. Now I know nobody wants to study and take the time to do this, but if you really want to get proficient at anatomy, start building these shapes, right? Doing that is going to allow you to start drawing these outlined areas a lot easier, right? So same thing with our trapezius muscles here that then come next. We have our neck, that comes in here, and all that connects down in there. So the next thing we work down to is our abdomen muscles, right? So let's look at the shape and break it down. Well, it's kind of like the same shape almost as the chest muscle, right? Except it's going to be much smaller. It's not going to be quite as big. Now again, depending on once you start doing like stylization, what kind of character it is you're designing, that will then vary. Maybe they have like a big, broad, uh, upper body. But that's completely up to you and your design choice later on down the line. But you're really going to start building up these shapes for your muscles. Now, the hard part for some, and even for me still today, I'll admit my flaws, is keeping things even as we work down and build out these shapes. Um, the abdomen is going to get smaller as it goes down, and it's much closer together as well. Okay, so start thinking about these muscle shapes and really build out uh, from there, right? So these little muscles that come up underneath the chest, you can start connecting and building these things based off of what you're seeing. Okay, so after we're done running through this, I'm going to show you how to kind of take it and then kind of like simplify it, so it's not so, like I'm working on these oblique muscles that are kind of like interwoven. But we'll show you how to kind of like simplify it so that it's not as complicated. But I wanted to show you this part first just because I think it's important to understand how these muscles connect and interweave to each other. It's not just a simple, you know, like, hey, here's your muscle. Let's just draw a shape, right? It'll build up, and again, they'll just kind of weave down into each other, right here on the obliques, and that'll kind of build down the side. We have our muscle groups that go down there. Okay, so kind of just building it out. Right, so this is the basic muscle foundations, right? But how can we take that and take what we've studied with the way things are shaped and then start constructing our body? So let's go back and do again. Let's come in here and maybe simplify it a little bit more, right? We could come in and I want to draw my chest shape for a male. So now I have a more or less defined shape, right? But we can take that from what we know about these muscle groups, right? And I can highlight, see this area right here? I can highlight those areas in order to help build my body the way that I need it. You can have a big chest, small chest. It's completely up to you. Then you just make your adjustments from there. So if we look here, we have this space right in here, right? So I can have that same space right in here that now builds out into that chest area, right? Then, as we come down, we have this area right in here before we get to the abs. Gonna kind of run off the body right here. So once you have that foundational understanding of these groups and how the shape, you can start, like I said, you can start breaking down the actual whole shapes that they make. You can start spreading it out even more. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and just kind of break down these individual shapes. So you can see how we're now taking it as a whole as opposed to separating everything. Okay? So once you can start visualizing, so like we can take these muscle groups here for the abdomen. Right down into here. And we could draw a little line, just to kind of hold our place. And then we want to take that down into the pelvic region. And so now that's helped us build that up. Same thing with the shoulder. We still have a nice big group here for a shoulder. We now have what I like to call the coat hanger region for the chest, because you can see how it kind of makes a coat hanger shape, as if something was, could be hanging from it. And then we can just spread out another shoulder shape. And we built that up from there. And then our neck is going to run right out from this region here. You can build that up however you'd like to kind of show those outer regions of the neck and how that runs up into the head from there. Okay? And again, from there, you're going to then take the torso and break it down even more. So I'm going to shrink down just a little bit, right? So I'm going to come in here and I can use those same steps again to build up my chest area. And so now it becomes more of a separation thing. Like, what are you going to focus on with this drawing? How much detail is going to go into each section? If this person is wearing an outfit of some kind, you don't have to then start with them being essentially, for lack of a better term, being naked or anything. They can just be built out however your desire for them to look is. Now, again, depending on your style and what you're going for, that will all come with time and adjustment and how your plans for your character, like if it's a superhero, the build of their body, maybe they're going to be super skinny. Whatever your heart's desire, you're now going to be able to shape things the way you want them so that it's not so hard after this point. Okay? So even doing something as simple as this right here, you know, and then if you wanted to define a little bit of the abs, again, depending on your shading technique, you know, or your shading technique or how you want the end result to look is all going to be based on your personal preference and how you want that to look. Like how much of these abs are going to be showing, or any of the abs going to be showing. You can completely just do without, and then there's no need to have anything, just from the standpoint that there's a generalized idea of what's going on in that area and what it is that you want to do. And then same thing with those trap muscles. You know, flowing into our neck right in here. Okay. Now, the next thing you would want to do from there is you want to practice from all sides, right? So you want to kind of be able to look at it in a way that you're getting all angles, right? So if we're doing it from the side, you know, we can start with that shoulder muscle. So this would be like our torso from the side. And again, just depending on the musculature, you know, of your character itself. You know, we still have those pieces that build out into the chest. Again, they could be skinny, it could be super muscular. That'll just determine, you know, the size that you're building from there. So I'm just drawing a little bit smaller so we can see better. Okay, again, just those regions of the body that are going to help you build out your muscles. And those shapes that belong in there, right? So like our traps, into our neck, right in there, right? Then we're going to see a little bit of our back, down into our buttocks area, or our behind, or bottom, whatever you want to call it. And then it allows you to build up the shapes. And then, if you want to, you can go in and erase out all the detail that you don't need. to, again, just kind of keep the shape where you need it. So the shoulder may be a little bit big on the side, but you see what I'm saying? We can break it out now and break it down. And then we want to start looking at things too. Like, you never know, you could be drawing a character who's standing from the back. So you want to be able to work in your back muscles, which are a completely different set and shape, right? So like when it comes to the back, I like to kind of start with the spine, right? We can put the spine right down the center. Let me redo that. We're going to go more straight. Okay. And then we just start building out the musculature areas of the spine and back area, just so that you are able to, again, just kind of understand how these muscles are connected to each other. Okay. And then you have your longer, sorry, I'm not sure why I arched that so much. Let's start here at the top. We'll just connect it from down here. And that runs down your latissimus muscle, running down into your back. And then you have, again, your shoulder shape is kind of tucked in. Right into there. So you can see how we're starting to build our back out. Again, just kind of tucking that into the spine. And again, depending on how built your character is or how muscular, will determine from there how much detail is needed. So like back here on the back, we have our traps are a little bit more defined in the back region. And that runs into your neck muscles there. Okay. And again, you can then go from there and erase out, the lines that you don't need to kind of help just build out those regions in a way that is going to be fitting for your character. Okay? So just work on that. Try for the males anyway. You're going to do both male and female. We're going to do female here next. So again, start with the muscles. Use a reference image. Don't just wing it. There's a weird stigma about, oh, you can't draw without looking at anything. No, you can. It's 100% okay to do that. Okay? So really just break down those muscle groups and then take that and expand upon that by making them larger areas until you can do this where you just have less detail but you're defining what it is that you're doing, right? So now we're going to move on to the female torso. Okay. Now the difference being on here, if you can see the image, is when it comes to the female's chest, it works the same way. It tucks in the same way. But then you have the chest area is mostly fat tissue that's on there. So again, we'll start the same way. We'll break down those muscle groups so they still tuck up into the shoulder. They're just a little bit more along a thinner line of doing it, right? So it's not going to be as beefy. Now, unless you're just drawing like an extremely muscular woman, you're not going to make them that big. But then you're going to have that fatty region of the chest right in here. Okay, so that's going to be where the actual chest of the female is going to be at. Okay, you still have that same breakdown of the muscle for the shoulder coming out from the arm. It's just the only difference is, so we still have that kind of chest, upper chest connection here. The only difference is it's a lot less bulky from that point, right? So again, we have that kind of upper chest, and that goes down into the shoulders, right? Our traps are going to be a little less defined, so they're going to kind of sleek out and come to a more thinner point as we build out into our neck. Okay, now the abs are going to work the same way, except they're going to kind of bleed into the chest a little bit, but they're still going to work the same way. So our muscle going to get closer together and smaller as we get down towards the stomach. And then we have that region that goes down to our pelvis area. And again, we have our oblique muscles that kind of weave into each other. And we have those muscle groups from the back that are on the sides. Now, if you notice, for the female, it's a lot more of a curve that's going to come out of here. Especially right inside of here. It's going to be more of an arch once you get to the hips, okay? So now, we have to do that same thing. We have to kind of break down from there. How are we going to draw our chest, right? So for the female, once you get it down, you can start with this arch here, right? And then run that down into the chest. And kind of get that roundness there, right? And then we go on the other side. And we do a similar thing where we hook it in. Just like that, right? Then we have our shoulders. That again is being tucked right in. To our chest. They are connected that way. And again, we can break down by larger shapes to help us define those regions better. Okay, we get our trapezius muscle and just break that group down. Again, just running that right into the neck. Okay, we're going to have that same tuck under that comes from the arm here. Right, and then we have that next region. That runs down here, right into the abs. Okay, and then we can break it down the same way like we did with the male. We can get a more thin, streamlined abdomen area, running that down into the pelvic region. Okay, and then we want to make sure that we get that curve, right? That typical female curve. That runs down into the body. So again, we're going from breaking down the actual muscles to getting more shape lines, to then we can move on to less detail. So I can start that same way. Getting that chest shape. And just run that down. Okay, we do the same thing over here. That initial shape. Run our line across just like we do with the male. And then we tuck that out. Here into the shoulder. And again, I'm going a little fast, but you want to take your time and make sure that you get it exactly how you want it to look. Okay. Then once we have that, we work our way down and get that curve into the body. Again, we can draw that line down the center, put like a little navel, and we can draw down and build up that way. Okay. Now, typically for feeling, again, it's going to depend on the body type too. So if they're somebody who's a little bit more heavy set that you're creating, but I usually like to come in and give them, a more noticeable clavicle muscle. Okay, again, we're just kind of leaning in with the traps right down into the neck. So you can see the difference in the female body type size is going to vary too. The chest size can be small or big. I mean, it's just however crazy you're trying to get. And that leads you from there. So your step one is building up those muscle groups, getting a feel for those shapes. And then again, learning how to combine those shapes to make larger groups for whatever later. So study the muscles first, see how they tuck and interweave, then break down the larger basic shapes, right? And then you can break down from there where you want to go, okay? So now we're going to do our different torso angles, right? So again, we want more of a streamline shoulder for a female. Now for your chest, because remember we kind of tucked out, we're going to have more, again, just it depends on, and it's really hard to say, but the shape of the chest. So like if we come from here and kind of build the neck up and work our way down, we can kind of build up our chest a little bit different, right? And again, that's going to all depend on the shape and size that you're going for, right? And then from there, you know, we have our build out of the different muscle groups that are going to work down in there. And then again, we'll have a little bit of our back showing right here, but here's the important part here with our spine, right? Now for the female spine, I have to support a lot more body weight, you know, due to pregnancy, carrying that extra weight and stuff. So there's a sharper curve out here for the bottom region of it, right? So you want to kind of have that curve in and come out for this region on the body. Okay. Now again, you're going to determine your chest size and what's exposed here. So how much you would be able to see. We'll also determine what that looks like from the side. Okay. Now the back side is going to be, well, before we move on to that, again, you can come in here now and kind of erase out again what's going to be important detail for you to have on your character. Same thing with your shoulder. And we get that little bit of clavicle in there. And so you can just build your body up that way. Then you can throw clothes or whatever on them as well. For the spine, we do the same thing for the rear view of the female. Okay, and now the muscles are set up the exact same way. The only difference is, again, for a female, it's going to be a little less. It's not going to be quite as big. All right, so we have that back right there. And then we're going to have the larger regions of muscle built into the back and have those extend down right to the spine. And we'll do the same on the other side. So again, a little bit more slender, a little bit more streamlined. And we want to keep that kind of curve, right? So these part right here that kind of curve out into where you get into the buttocks or bottom. Again, not really sure what YouTube's going to allow me to say, but your butt on there. And then again, you have your shoulder has been tucked in. from right in there. And then again, our traps are a little bit more exposed on the back. Again, not quite as big as the male. And that just simply just flows up right into your neck. Now again, you come in and you get rid of different things that you want to stand out in your drawing for your character. So different parts of the back muscles that you want exposed, or even how much of it is completely up to you when it comes down to your final design. So like keeping the spine and then maybe having a slight bit of the back here. Again, that all flows down into your shoulders. So again, just completely depends on you and what you want your final design to look like. Okay? So again, we have our male torso. Excuse me. We're going to start with muscle groups. Just learn to block those muscle groups into larger groups as you transfer them over. And then go in and take out the detail. Work on your turnarounds, get multiple angles of it. Okay? Then you can move on to females. Do the same thing, break those muscle groups down into larger groups as you bring them over and start drawing your body from there. Practice is key. Learning from your mistakes is key. Notice, be able to notice and recognize, like I can tell right here, this upper part is way bigger than this lower part, so I would make some adjustments, maybe extend the bottom out a little bit more here to make it more even, but learn from your mistakes. Don't just do it once. So I want you to spend this whole week, for those of you that are serious about it, getting just the torso of male and females and just draw it, draw it, draw it. Just draw like 30 minutes a day, if even. If you do more, great, but just if even, and you should be getting a lot better at it. And then get to a point to where you're just like this here, where you're getting less and less detail, okay? And then what we'll do next week is we'll move on to another section of the body. So I really appreciate those of you who stuck around and took the time. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Let me know of any other art lessons you want to learn. Maybe it's not anatomy related. Maybe it's just other things. Perspective, drawing objects, like backgrounds, like trees, rocks, how to get those details. Let me know in the comment. I want to get you the content that you want to see. But in the meantime, just practice this. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you to everyone who is subscribed. Until next time, remember to keep on sketching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye.